in my opinion, though, the real political news of the week outside the State of the Union came outside the Capitol Rotunda, came outside of Congress in the awesome demonstration of Trump throwing some jabs at DeSantis by calling him a groomer and appearing to have photographic evidence to prove it. He has photos. He truthed out a truth of a picture purporting to be Ron DeSantis when he was a high school teacher attending a high school party and chatting up some high school girls. And I guess I spoke too soon on Trump being washed because I mean this is the old casino Don coming out again.
So yeah, a lot to talk about here.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, posting the first DeSantis scandal, like post him beating Andrew Gillum, which was him going to high school parties when he was a teacher at that private school. And, of course, like the pro DeSantis part of Con Inc. were like, well, you were friends with Jeffrey Epstein. And these are all people who like enthusiastically voted for him twice. I saw a really good thread by one guy who was like, he's a pro DeSantis guy. He's a Latino guy. And pro Trump guys were like, fuck you. We should deport you. And he's like, oh, yeah? Well, guess what, sir? Trump should have deported me and he didn't, which is sort of like the conservative version of like, at least I served, and he goes into this whole thing about Trump's associations with Epstein, which are true. And he's like, but I also don't think he's a pedophile, nor do I think DeSantis is. But I love this whole thing because everyone on both, like whether you're a pro DeSantis or pro Trump guy, both of these things that these guys did are incredibly weird.
Yeah.
Incredibly weird. Whether it is, that video of Trump awkwardly dancing with Epstein and poining out girls and going,
nice,
she's hot.
Nice boobs, man. Tremendous.
Yeah. Terrific nipples, ma'am. Or it's, Ron DeSantis listening to Brand New in 2004 at age 28 with all those 17-year-olds. And the only defense, like, the Trump people have is like, well, he stopped being friends with him, like, after he found out. And the only defense that people have for the DeSantis thing is, well, I've done that.
Yeah. Well, what are you talking about? Hanging out at high school parties?
Everyone does that.
It's so awesome. It's like you have the difficulty level turned all the way down. You've gone through puberty. You have a checking account. You have swag.
Yeah. There's just no defense for either. Like, at least with like the Trump people, they can have this like the Q fiction that Trump is like working undercover and the entrapped Epstein and all this shit. But with the DeSantis thing, your worldview isn't quite as fantastical. Mm-hmm. If you've noticed, the DeSantis people, they've really started to sound like, George W. Bush staffers now.
Yeah.
It's midnight, the carriage is turning back into a pumpkin. And they're saying things like, it's disgusting to accuse your political opponent of having an affair. After 6 years of, you're pedophiles and you were executed.
Well, I mean, Ron DeSicco has made a good chunk of his like political prestige off accusing other people of being groomers. So I think it's telling that when Trump calls him out, his response is not to deny it, but to say, like, I'm focused on delivering for Florida, and I'm not spending my time smearing other Republicans. So it's like, you've just opened yourself up to being called grooming Ron for the next 4 years. Like, he's got no response to it, and he's just, like, has proven now that he will wilt in the face of personal attacks.
Well, the problem is that he can't really go beast mode in response because his entire value add to the Republicans is that he is Trump without the drama, Trump with discipline, a regular politician style guy, which means that he can't really go blow to blow with Trump without. I mean, like, well, if you're both going to be circus animals, why don't we go with the champion gorilla instead of this upstart chump with no national track record?
Yeah, and I mean, even if it isn't Trump, which I still think is very possible, as every day goes on, I think it's less and less likely that it will ever be DeSantis, or at least this year. This is just not his year.
We said Elizabeth Warren before is the comp, and people point to look at him in the polls. And it's like there was 1 minute where Elizabeth Warren, fueled by the media, was top of the polls, and then what happened? You know?
No, but I do I do like all the former Trump people who have now converted to DeSantis being like, yeah, I always knew he was a pedophile. Yes, I voted for I voted for him twice, but that was for reasons. I don't know, like, what was that Caleb Hull guy was like posting the picture of Trump with Epstein? It's like, oh, I'd be quiet on this issue if I was him, and it was just like, well, where the fuck were you for the last 4 fucking years? Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess you really see the difference here. Everyone who's like really made their decision for DeSantis here, they are, I don't know, they have the mark of Cain of being, they would have been Bush 2 staffers if they were born just a little bit earlier. Whereas the Trump people, they have authentic. If you're still with Trump, you still have like an authentic freak credential, even if you did actually work for Bush 2, as several of them did.
Hard to see where they and when you make grooming your thing, it's like there's not a lot of places to go after that, or if indeed you are yourself having liaisons with teenage girls, or are close personal friends with a well-known human trafficker.